Hi guys, welcome back to The Average. Today it is a bit of a cold, looks like it's gonna storm day, and what a perfect day to do a sort of book type challenge. And I want to do, you've obviously read the title, so it's a 100-page challenge. In case you guys haven't seen this before, it's when I flip to the 100th page of a book and whatever is in the book is what I have to illustrate. It sort of gives me an excuse to practice my illustration work, which is obviously very connected to books. And if you're new to my channel, you may or may not know, but I'm very book orientated and I like to bring that into my art stuff as well. So that's why I like to do this, and yeah, let's get started. About the book, this is the Tales from the Arabian Nights, and these stories you have definitely heard of or you've seen a form of it in some type of way, because they include stories from Sinbad the Sailor, Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp. Those are probably the most famous ones that I've heard of. But there's actually 20 stories in this book. These are just naming a few that you might recognize. So I wonder what is on page 100, and what I'm going to do is just go to page 100 and then flip to the beginning of whatever story it is, and we'll see what it comes up with. Hopefully nothing too difficult like a sultan's palace or something that I just can't draw. So this is the story, The Tale of the Enchanted Horse. I'm going to read this whole short story and then I'll turn to page 100 and see what it says. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I just finished this short story and it was really good actually. I'm just going to explain it really quickly with what I read. So there's this king and he lives with his 3 daughters and a son, and then these 3 merchants come along and try to sell to the king. They each have like a marvelous animal contraption type thing, and one of them has a black horse who the king kind of falls in love with because this horse can fly, and the king's like, yeah, take one of my daughters for that horse, that's fine, you can totally marry one of my daughters. And the daughter gets a little bit upset about this because she sees that the man is like 100 years old and she doesn't want to marry him, which is fine, you know, we don't have to marry who we don't want to marry, and that's quite awful. But then the prince comes home and sees her crying and he's like, why are you crying? She's like, dad's forcing me to marry this dude who's Urgo, and he's like, oh hell no. And he goes to the court and then he sees the horse, this magical flying horse, and basically gets on it because he's an idiot, and the magician type guy is like, oh yeah, go ahead, ride it, and he rides it, and basically the horse floats up to the sun. The magician's like, well, you're never gonna see your son again because I didn't tell him how to turn it off or make it so the horse can descend instead of just descend. So there's like apparently like lots of little buttons and stuff on the horse, which is quite cool. But eventually the prince figures it out and like presses a button and lands on the earth again, but finds like a different palace and then meets a woman and falls in love with this princess. And the king's like, yo, you can't be married to her, you just came to her bedroom, how rude is that? And he's like, yo, send 40,000 army people to kill me, and if I can beat them and I win and I get my honor back or something. And the king's like, heck yeah, you're gonna die horribly with 40,000 men against you. And then he just flies away against the 40,000 people, so he wins that, I guess. Then he goes home for a little bit. This is where the story sort of trails off a little bit. I think like there could be a clear-cut ending, but he goes home for a little bit, everyone's happy because they thought he was dead, and then he comes back, and then he's like, oh wait, I missed my princess. So then he goes to get the princess, and then the princess comes back, but then for some reason they haven't killed the magician guy, and the magician guy steals the princess, but then he gets her back, and then they get married and they live somewhere else, and that's the end. But yeah, it's a pretty cool story, and actually I was really intrigued because page 100 is actually where the prince has mounted the magical horse and is floating up to the sun, and he's sort of panicking like, I'm gonna get consumed. Sorry. Are you okay? I don't even know what my train of thought was here. I don't know where I was because I explained that, and then Chris nearly died, and then I had to turn on the lights. So yeah, he's flying into the sun and he's panicking, and that's a pretty cool image that I want to draw. And I think I'm just going to use my trusty new sketchbook for this, which is currently being my inked over business. Okay, there we have the final sketch. I just drew the ebony horse and the prince kind of floating up to the sun, and I thought I'd do like magical trails. Yeah, I'm just gonna ink this up and then paint it, I think. And that's the story of The Enchanted Horse, and I hope you liked it. I hope you liked my butchering of the retelling of it, and also the beautiful image that I put along with it. Let's get into the art, shall we? I used just this like ink pen from Japan. I got it from Jet Pens. I go on about them a bit because I get pens from them, Japanese pens that are like ink brushy kind of things. I don't know what I'm going on about, I'm kind of rambling. And I just went over it and then I did some watercolors. It's pretty clear cut what the process was here. But I think my intention was just to have a kind of abstract type style of image that would be very 2D and very like a weird perspective of just like flat shapes, because I feel like old Arabic art is kind of like that maybe, I don't know. It was just my interpretation of what I saw in my head, and the prince is sort of panicking but kind of looks a little bit more happy, so maybe he's just started his descent to earth and he knows he's not going to burn up in a fiery blaze of glory in the sun. But yeah, he's headed on his way up to the sun, or just finished figuring out how to work the horse. And I had quite fun drawing this horse and the prince. It was I would say I have fun, because I guess I always do, I'm just being honest. I think the only thing wrong with this drawing is probably the horse's neck is a little bit short, but I think what I was going for here was kind of an action shot, so I was like, yeah, the horse will be like really curved neck in this motion, but I guess it just comes across as a little unproportional. But that's fine, because, you know, I've learned for next time, guys. So as you can see, I just did like this purple haze wash of watercolor around the horse, kind of like a magical force field around him. And you'll see in a bit, but I add like pencil work around some blings and some shine to make it seem like the horse is magical. And then I wanted to make the sky a little bit more blue, because I feel like, because the cover of the book is the sky is blue, I was like, I should have done a blue sky, because that would have been nicer, like a deep blue, and it would have looked nicer against all these colors. So I added like a blue pencil in it, and it added a nice texture. Although in the bottom right, I think it messed up a little bit, because you can see the pencil marks quite badly against the paint. But you know, another mistake to learn from. And I just like the way that it's like a weird direct flat shape of the sun, and the sunbeam coming down onto the horse and the prince. And overall, I really like this image. I think it's bright and full of contrast and just exciting to look at, if I can say that about my own work. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, so I will see you at the end. So that's the final image, and I hope you guys liked it. I know it's a bit short, but I hope you enjoyed the whole process of the exercise. And I think if you guys have any form of art block or unsure what to draw, this is a really good fun task to do. Just get your favorite book and turn to page 100, and you'll probably be surprised by what you read, and it'll probably give you a clear image of something to draw. And it's something I like to do just for, you know, the fun of it, and I hope that you like seeing it too. Anyway guys, that's it for me for now. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you next time. Bye!